Have you ever wondered how some people achieve massive success or massive results in what they're aiming for in life and others just struggle to get started? We've all been there. I've been there. In today's episode, we're going to go over why that's not attached to talent or luck, how it's really attached to consistency. If you missed last week's episode, it's going to be a key building block into this time and consistency to achieve the success and goals and desired outcome. Last week's episode was on responsibility. The people that I've seen achieve health, wealth, abundance, achieve the desired life that they desire to show up to every single day have one thing in common, and it's that they take responsibility for where they're at and responsibility for the choices that can get them to where they're going. So if you missed that one, go back and watch that again, episode 14. Today's episode is episode 15, and it is going to be going over why consistency is the key to achieve the life that we desire, to achieve those big goals and massive results. All right, let's dive into it. We're going to dive into consistency. There's three main topics. I have notes in front of me, so I'm honing in on my craft, being consistent and getting better at this for y'all and for me. And so we're going to have three main talking points today. First one's going to be how to start small. The second is going to go a little bit more into the science and how habits are the brain's way of automating behavior. We'll also talk a little bit about dopamine and how you can start to create dopamine drips on those habits to actually reward you to keep you moving in the direction that you want. You also get those dopamine hits going the opposite direction. So we'll dive into that too, of how to rewire that to point that the right direction. And then the third one is going to be why consistency matters and how to create an ecosystem or community to support you and help you continue to move towards where you desire to be. So those are the three things. Just to recap it real quick, it's going to be how to start small, how habits are the brain's way of automating behavior, dopamine, and how that cascade or reward system works. And then the third and final is going to be why consistency matters and how creating an ecosystem or community can help support you in staying consistent. So let's dive into starting small. So one of the things that I see, and one of the things I want to preface too, is releasing any judgments or I'm going to talk about the good enough attitude. So enoughness in this moment, we'll start with a little saying, is in this moment, we love wholeness, completion. We have all the validation, all the support, all the connections, all the resources, all the happiness, love, joy, all those resources that we need to feel complete through God. And in this moment, we're going to step into the state of where we can receive this and then turn this into a proactive approach and go create the life that we desire to be, creating that creative energy. So let's start things with that. That way we can be in an open state to receive. So let's go into how to start small. So one of the things that I see for most people, self included, is we have this big goal, vision, or desired life or lifestyle, right? And when we try to eat it all at once, and a lot of times what we end up getting is shiny object syndrome, where we have all these different ideas that come up and we start chasing one and then we chase the next one, and we're actually we're not getting any traction moving towards that. So for us, it's really starting small. So for me, I create priorities. You'll hear me talk about this a lot, even for our patients. They know this, right? I create priorities in our exercise, priorities in our plans. Okay, well, what's the most important thing right now? If you had to change one thing in your life that would make the biggest impact, what would it be? And some people, if you're like me in the beginning, I was like, a stack of cash, a big bank account, right? Like all those things. But for me, if you don't have your health, then that stuff doesn't matter. So health has got to be that. So what is your self-development? Let's take out the material part of it. You can still work for those things. We'll tie that back in. But what is the most important thing that would change your life the most or change the way that you experience life the most? And you start there. You start small. So some people, and maybe exercising. So it can be as simple as just showing into the gym. You literally walk in the door, walk back out. And maybe you're like, oh, well, I don't have time in my schedule. So maybe it's actually just taking 1 minute to sit down and do one specific exercise. Maybe it's a split squat. Maybe it's a stretch. Maybe it's a pull up, right? Something so small that you can't miss it. You're like, wow, I would really have to be trying not to be able to accomplish that in my day, right? So for me, it's something so small. So sometimes for me, like I'll walk into the gym and I'll do a stretch or an exercise and then I walk back out because I want my body to be in the habit of going to the gym and showing up, not giving myself the excuse not to be there because of time. Even if it's a small thing, I'm still going to get a gain out of that versus doing nothing at all. And so, and that usually judgment comes in and keeps us from doing those small things. So this is helping us also reprogram our mind to get rid of those judgments. Is I'm just going to show up, do at least one thing today, and then go. And I'm going to build off of that. So starting so small and having the good enough attitude. So that's the other point under this that I want to talk about is there's this thing around enoughness where we invalidate ourselves or, well, I should, right? Should and could and would are dangerous words, specifically should. If you're taking notes, I encourage to write that word down. Anytime in your vocabulary you hear the word should, you're instantly going to start judging yourself, right? I should, you're judging yourself, right? So for me, I work on not judging myself. I can assess myself and say, hey, you're like, what's the difference between assess and judge? For me, they are very similar, but I'm not going to attach an energy to it. Okay, well, I want to have more tone, more definition in my muscles. Okay, I don't go back and say, well, I should have been doing this years ago, right? That doesn't serve me. So for me, it's okay. This is the desired outcome. I assessed it and know that this is not where I want to be. And then I start creating a choice to build into that. So if it's changing the definition, maybe I actually just eat less carbs and sugar. I don't know. Maybe I just eat less meals, right? Maybe I'm eating 5 meals a day. Maybe I only need to eat two in reality. Maybe I'm having drinks with sugar in them. There's all these different things. So let's start with one thing, whatever the priority is. It's like, okay, the one thing that would make the biggest difference the most is actually getting rid of sugar in my diet. So let's just start there. Okay, so I'm just not going to have sugar for a day. Cool. Day's done. Okay, well, do I want to try two, or maybe I want to have sugar this day? So maybe I have sugar, and then the next day rolls around, and well, let's try 2 days, right? And you start building into these small habits that you can't miss. Usually for us, it's because the things that are easy to do are also easy not to do. And I'm going to come into dopamine in a second because you get a good feeling by doing the things you don't want to do, and that's how you keep doing it. And you stay in these programs or patterns. So for us, we want to stay consistent in those small things and start small enough where we can't miss, and then have a good enough attitude that we're perfect whole in what we have now, and not or but, and we're going to do one small thing to improve today. And staying consistent in that area until it becomes a habit. So we'll talk a little bit more about that now, which is dopamine and just building those habits. So habits are your brain's way of automating or programming behavior. So a habit, okay? So for us, it comes back to dopamine. Dopamine is this feel good thing that your body kicks out. It's a chemical in your body. If you want to go study it, the same thing happens when you take drugs and do things. And over time, you can train it for not doing drugs, right? Obviously, I go against doing drugs, right? Drugs are something that's easy to do, but you get a dopamine kickback, and that's why we end up getting junkies or people that are addicted to drugs, is because right? They feel good. Of course they do. But you can get those same things naturally, right? The doing a video later today on the integrator adjusting tool and torque release technique, which was born, it's a chiropractic technique born out of drug addiction. And 100% in that study of the people that started under that program stayed in that program. Why? Because they retrained their body to get dopamine from those adjustments, right? They were getting dopamine from their body functioning better, from their body starting to feel better too by functioning better, right? In that study. So you can get it natural ways. And that's why they were able not to relapse and go back to taking drugs or using drugs. And so it's a valuable thing. And I'm just using that as an example here. Same thing can happen when you exercise and stuff. First time you exercise, don't expect to feel like super amazing. Maybe you will, right? But it takes time to build that dopamine or reward cascade system. And if you want to do deeper dives in AI or search, you can look up mesolimbic system. It's your emotional chemical reward cascade system, right? That's big words there. So first, you get these dopamine hits that start to structure your behavior and habits. You not going to the gym actually gives you dope. If you're not in shape or the where you want, you get a dopamine hit from doing that. You're like, but I don't feel good when I don't go to the gym. But you do. You're getting dopamine. There's a reason. Otherwise, you wouldn't keep doing it, right? Why would you keep doing something that doesn't feel good? It feels comfortable not going to the gym in the beginning. There's lots of reasons. Some people, it's the way that maybe they're not confident in the exercises. A lot of body shaming comes into that, right? Or it's like, you start to justify, I'm just so busy. The just words come out. Just is another highlighter word. I just. And then there's another dangerous word I'll give us. So keywords so far that you can highlight to watch in your vocabulary is would, could, should. And then you can also look at just. I just. Another dangerous word that I learned or phrase, and I know these are, this will be a phrase. Dangerous phrase that I learned this week is when I get to this point in time, when I have this material thing, when I have this connection, right? And really that's me just not being present because I'm saying, and it's a lack or scarcity mindset because I'm really detaching from the moment and saying that there's something missing because when I get that thing, then I'll have completeness or wholeness. Right? Does that make sense? I hope that's landing for y'all. It helped me a ton. So, so for us, it's those habits are actually you're programming automated behavior. So if you actually look at things that you do every day, you're like, I feel stuck or looping. It's because you are, right? And I've been there too. Is you're stuck or looping in a pattern. So what are the things that have become habits? What are the things that you do every single day? And now you can pay attention to those. Which ones do you want to continue to do, and which areas of priority? One, two, like make a list. Priority one is to change my health, is to change my fitness, change my diet. Whatever priority one is then you have that priority two is to change my wealth or finances. That can be priority two. What does that look like? And then priority three could be how you invest your time, energy, or maybe those are all backwards. How do you invest your time and energy, right? Time and energy is a big one, but time and energy, I'm talking about more experiential. So for me, it's usually health, wealth, experiential, time and energy outside of those things. I invest my time and energy into the first two. So y'all get what I'm saying. And so then have that list and start with one. Once you build a habit, right, and you can't miss it, that's the key word of for me when it becomes a habit. And it could be for me, it's anywhere between 30 and 90 days typically. Sometimes we can learn it faster. Maybe it's 2 weeks, but usually it's usually 30 to 90 days, even for me. Like I got it after 2 weeks, but then I try to add something else and then that habit goes away. So for me, it's usually 30 days of staying super consistent on that first one. Then I'll try to add the next habit. But for me, I instantly go back. If the first habit slips and that's still a priority for me, then I have to drop the second thing that I started to add and go back to being consistent on that. And then you slowly build those other habits in there. So it's starting small enough and having wholeness and not removing judgment. It's removing judgment, having that wholeness completion. You are enough where you're at, and there's room for you to improve your vessel of who you are to your desired life. Okay. So that explains habits and behavior. So you get to rechange and rewire those neural pathways. Okay. So now we're going to go into consistency. Consistency is the key part for the habits, right? It's consistency over time. One of the main reasons I'm recording this in front of you and even on a podcast is because about 6 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago now, I recorded a video on YouTube for this bow flex, and it's one that has like a wind powered thing, wind powered resistance. And I didn't see any reviews on it, so I decided, hey, I'm going to record this with. I think I had my GoPro, or maybe it was an Android phone at that point in time. I recorded it. Lighting was terrible. Audio was terrible. I was out of shape, so I was like huffing and puffing after doing like just very small things. I recorded that video, and I didn't know how to cut the way that I do now. Obviously, I've gotten better over time with consistency, with building new habits. And so that video, I think, had like 13,000, maybe it's 30,000 or something. It was something in the thousands of views. And I'm like, I did that years ago. So I'm like, well, I wonder what else I could get out there and how many people I could reach, connect with, and what type of life I could have as a creator. Something that I love doing is I wonder what type of life I could have doing that. And so for me, that was something that I noticed, raised the awareness. I noticed something in my programming or looping. It's like, oh, I haven't done that. And I continue to have the same life, but I want to change in my life and I want to create this stuff and I want to learn how to do this. And I got rid of the when I statements, the should statements, and just statements. And it's like, okay, well, let's just start doing it. And what's something super easy to do? And for me, it's this creating one podcast video a week. I can do that. I can create one podcast video a week on things that I am learning, things that I see in the practice, things that I see out having conversations, teaching other people, hopping on phone calls, or experiencing in life as a whole. I can do that. And so that's what I decided to do. And now, consistently over time, I can see the growth and the betterment of that. Not perfect yet, but it's getting better. And so that's happened over time. Consistency. It's one of the things I'll refer back to health here. One of the things that I've seen in our health too is we have what's called lifestyle care. The first 90 days, typically people are super stoked because that's when they have the pain and their pain is going away. They're getting their quality of life back. And then people over time forget to stay consistent because you're not feeling the pain of it, right? And it's the same thing with our health. And we can talk about weight and those things. Is sometimes with our weight is like, right, it's something that gradually happens over time. I'm like, man, how did I end up 50, 100 pounds, 30 pounds, 20 pounds overweight? And it's those small things over time in the same way that you get out of it. The amazing part is your body can actually heal, recover, lose weight much faster than typically it puts it on if you just stay consistent and do the right things. Most of us, when we don't feel the pain or discomfort, we don't value those things. I'll say that again. That's vitally important if you're taking notes. When we don't feel the pain or discomfort, we typically don't value those things. So having that discomfort, pain, there's an acronym. This might be one of the most important things that you could just write down and learn for the rest of your life. Pain, it's an acronym. Pay attention inside now. Whether that's a physical pain in your body, whether that's a pain of social pain, emotional, spiritual pain, right? Abundance or resource pain, is just pay attention inside now. What is my responsibility? Last week's episode, what is in my responsibility, in my control? What choices can I make to slowly start taking control back of that where I don't feel this discomfort again? Right. And then the key part is when you get to that comfort level, is to stay consistent. I always say the things that are easy to do are also easy not to do. So creating value and staying consistent in those things. And so that's why some of us will stay in seasons of pain for our whole life. Some people will have longer seasons of pain and discomfort. Some will have shorter. Why? Because they've learned the keys: responsibility and then consistency. Because even when I feel pain or discomfort and I don't necessarily see or experience the results, I am going to stay consistent because I know if I stay consistent, that result is going to inevitably come at some point. There was a study done, I forget who did it, but they were studying success, and they wanted to study what are the things, which was actually a brilliant question, of how can I study of all the ways not to be successful? What guarantees me failure? And failure is like quitting. What I'm saying is finality or termination, right? Failure isn't these small blips where you do an exercise to failure, and then next time you do more reps and you go to failure. You're growing in those failures, if that makes sense. So I'm talking about if you just want to guarantee not being successful, and the one thing that they said that you couldn't have at all is consistency, because that would guarantee just the slightest chance, even if you're moderately or a low level consistent, you still have a chance of success versus being just so inconsistent. So any form of consistency. So it could be once a day, 1 minute a day, once a week, once a month. Start so small that you'd have to be like, I'd have to be insane not to do that. I had a call before this. I'll finish with this story before I close out. I had a call with someone. I'm encouraging them to do YouTube because I really value our phone conversation. And I really think that he'd be very, very good at it if he desires it. And I was talking about, he's like, you make it sound so simple when I explain what I'm about to explain. And it's like, because it is. They make things more efficient and more simple. That's what I do. That's what I enjoy doing. And I enjoy connection and all those things too, but that's one of the things I enjoy. I said, if you literally once a week, even if you did it once a month, let's say biweekly, for him, biweekly is an easy thing that he could do. If you did one of these videos and you kept it around 18 minutes or less, or you can go a little over, like I know we're probably going to go a little over. We're at 18, a little over 18 right now. I was like, even if you go a little over that video, right? That video is going to be also, you strip the audio and you can just put it in Spotify. So that's two pieces of content. Then you can actually put it into software that cuts it into shorts or reels for Instagram. So it creates you about another 20 to 10. So you're at 12 to 22 pieces of content from that one thing. And then you do that twice because you're doing it bi-weekly, so twice a month. So then you have roughly 40 pieces of information that's going out there for you to create influence, help people, connect with people, fill your cup. Like, it's really not that hard. Like, it's not. And then you get better over time. So your time commitment to create the piece of content or the video is less because you're developing those muscles. It's the same thing with whatever it is, saving, investing. Those muscles develop the more consistent you are. And then you start to get those dopamine hits, which rewards you even more. Doing this video is giving me a dopamine hit of like, wow, you did it. You said you're going to do something and you did it. You followed through with that. And I've been doing this now for about a month, maybe a month and a half. So that 30 to 90-day window. So now I'm starting to develop the dopamine release for doing the videos versus not doing the videos. And so that's my example. That's my encouragement. No matter what it is for you, start so small that you'd be like, I'd have to be crazy not to do that. I'd have to be insane not to be able to do that. If I know it betters my life, I'd have to be so like there's no way I can miss that 1 minute of reading a book a day, or one like how I did that 1 minute of reading a book a month. Right? It'd have to be so crazy not to do. And so these are things that you can do to build. These are one of the keys: responsibility again, and building consistently. And I'll kind of close before I close out, finish with is leaving that judgment out, like we talked about: wholeness, validation, all the resources, all the love, all the joy, all the things that you need is made whole. You have that, you have God. With that, you are whole. You don't need anything else. And that allows you to transition from needing to take something from the moment or being in a lack or scarcity to know that everything you need, you have to step into that giver and creative and creation energy. And so I encourage, as you're doing this, don't be comparing yourself to other people. You can assess and see things that they do. Be open to help and receiving help. Don't compare yourself. Just because someone else gets there faster doesn't always mean better, right? Things that grow fast aren't always great. Cancer is something that grows fast. Doesn't mean it's great, right? So it's just being where you need to be and focusing on yourself and your journey, your growth to achieve what you want. I'm super excited to see how this helps you, hear how it helps you, and just super stoked to see what you create in your life. That's what excites me. I love creating. I love when I see other people create and they're telling me of how their life is improved or things that they're learning, and they share something and I get to share about it on here. And it's this awesome loop of just wholeness, completion, and creation. And so I'm super excited to hear from y'all how you guys apply this. And I just want to recap just those 3 points real quick, and then I'm going to close out. Those 3 points again is we want to start with how to start small with the smallest things, being good enough, having that good enough attitude, starting with something as simple as reading 1 minute a day, exercising 1 minute a day, calling a friend 1 minute a day, and saving $1 a week, whatever it is, right? And then the second is how those habits scientifically create automated behavior through our brain. And then we get dopamine hits eventually in that 30 to 90-day window. We'll get dopamine hits of following through on the things that we say we want to do, leading towards the life that we desired to live. And then the third one is why that consistency matters. And then also, I kind of forgot that, but I'll touch on it now, is creating an ecosystem. Maybe these videos are an ecosystem for you. It's a community where you can constantly, when you're feeling down, you pop on the video and it re-encourages you to do those things. It re-reminds you. Maybe there's other people on YouTube that are very encouraging and positive towards what you want. That's your ecosystem. If you don't have someone to call or physically connect with, creating ecosystem online, and you're going to start drawing in those people and leave comments on there. People want to engage with you. So leave comments. Like, I can't encourage it. That's how I start. I leave comments and I learn from these people and ask them, and they connected because I wasn't shy about doing that. I was scared. Of course, at times I'm like, man, these people are probably so busy. They don't want to hear from me. That's not true. It's not true. And so creating an ecosystem around you to help support and sustain you on those days where you kind of fall back or want to default back into old programming or old habits or behaviors. So that would be the last part that I would say. So if you guys haven't seen episode 14 on responsibility, definitely go check that out. If there's someone that you know that would benefit from today's episode 15 on consistency, please share it with them. It takes literally less than a minute to share this with them. You never know how that's going to impact their life, how it might impact your life. So please share that with them. And if you guys haven't already, if you're listening, follow, or if you're on YouTube, like, subscribe, share it. And I can't wait to see you all on episode 16.